You're sending soldiers into the island disguised as citizens.
This country needs for this to work.
No one's coming to help us. After tonight, nothing will ever be the same again.
They forgot about one thing. They forgot about us.
What have I done?
Run! Stay strong now. I'm coming.
Just remember all the good the Purge does.
Hello once again, watchers of good movies. My name is Nick Pell, and this is my review of The First Purge. Now, in case you're not aware, this is a prequel to the Purge trilogy, which has included The Purge Anarchy, and Purge Election Year. Election Year seemingly concluded the whole Purge event, basically made it illegal to continue doing the Purge, and took down the Founding Fathers organization. And in this film, we get to see how they rose up and how the Purge began as a nationwide event. So does The First Purge survive the night, or is this just a franchise which just honestly needs to be purged entirely? Let's find out. Now, Elon Noel, I believe I'm pronouncing that right. I apologize if I am not. I think that he really stole this film just with his performance. He's easily the most interesting character in this whole thing. He starts out as this head of a gang, essentially this drug gang, and he has this background with one of the female characters played by Lex Scott Davis, and so you get to see kind of their relationship during the first 30 minutes of the movie. But as the film progresses, you see him have to basically buckle down and deal with the Purge happening and all these crazy events which began to unravel. And you get to see him go from a guy who's just really defending his territory to basically an anti-hero who just ends up seeing the mass chaos going on that he's not really a part of, and deciding that he has to defend his community and his neighborhood. And it's a really cool thing to see play out. And that kind of leads to my first big positive about this film, is that it is a very character-driven film as opposed to the first three movies. The first three films focused on the Purge event as it has been around for a number of years, presumably by this point. And aside from the first film, we get to see action taking place on the streets, see people trying to survive the night, essentially. And those events were more focused on basically this group of survivors trying to survive the night. And instead, in The First Purge is, like I said, a more character-driven movie. It has some violence, as you would expect, but it doesn't have it to the extreme degree as the original three movies. Instead, and this is also part of a negative, it takes about 30 minutes or so of the first third of the movie to basically set up these characters, set up their arcs, basically set the stage for the First Purge happening. And it does ultimately feel a bit drawn out ultimately, because it does take a while for things to kind of amp up excitement wise. But that said, it is a bit of fresh air to see this film and this franchise start to move towards more character driven stories and not just focus on the chaos of the event. And also, as you would probably predict, we get to see the origins of the Purge, and the most interesting aspect of it once it begins is that it's not just a free-for-all murder fest like we've seen in the other films. Basically, aside from a couple individuals, nobody is really fully partaking in the Purge like the head authority government figures really want people to. The Purge in this film is basically just located on Staten Island. It's basically being run as this experiment to see if it is successful, and presuming that it is successful, it will expand nationwide. And so at first on Staten Island, like I said, aside from a couple people, most people are either just kind of looting stores or just throwing mad parties, having sex in the street, things which would normally be illegal but are now legal. It's really interesting to see that it took government intervention and sending in these malicious soldiers to initiate the rest of the Purge happening, because as far as I remember, at least in 2 and 3, it is actually citizens partaking and going into their murderous intents on this night. And so just seeing, possibly, I'm just kind of analyzing, with people seeing that, oh hey, all this violence taking place, maybe just the fact that I didn't want to partake in it the first time. I see everyone else is doing it, so maybe I should do it as well. So I just found the origins of the Purge in general just very interesting, because it is basically a false origin, at least from what people understand it to be, because it's ultimately reported, as you would guess, to be a success. But it's only a success because the government intervened and sent in people to basically slaughter hundreds of citizens. And the last thing I just want to mention, which I think is really cool, is that it is a predominantly African American cast. I've seen the first 3 films, as you would guess, and from what I remember, I haven't seen them in a while, but from what I remember, they actually had some African American actors, but there were also, like the lead, Frank Grillo, he was white actor, and nothing wrong with that, but it's really cool to see, especially after Black Panther and Get Out, getting to see kind of this predominantly black cast just highlighting this film and just dealing out these really good performances. I just really enjoyed seeing that. But guys, ultimately I think that the First Purge was the change that this franchise really needed in order to move forward and keep itself interesting. Now, while Anarchy is still probably my favorite among the 4 films that we now have, just because I thought it just dealt with the outside chaos really well. I mean, it was the first time we got to see that. I do think that this is a really interesting way to move the franchise forward, presuming that they will make another one, maybe the second Purge, third Purge, and just keep moving that way. I don't know how they're planning to continue it, but they continue to do these overarching character-driven stories and maybe keep some of these characters from this first film, or I guess 4th film, however you want to see it, in the sequels that are to come. That could be really interesting and make for a much more compelling trilogy overall. You guys, those are my thoughts on the First Purge. I quite enjoyed it. Did you? Leave it in the comments down below. Did you like it as much as I did? Did you hate it more than I did? Let me know. Like, favorite, comment, and subscribe if you so choose. I'd appreciate it immensely. Make sure to ring the notification bell as well, so that you're notified whenever I put out new videos. And another reminder, I'm doing written reviews for video games of all sorts. That is in the description down below. Click the link for that if you are interested in checking those out. And as always, my people, my name is Nick Pell. And once again, keep on watching.